Olivia Hart felt the warm Bali breeze dance through her hair as she settled into a corner table at the Sunset Cliff Cafe. The 27-year-old had just accepted the role of senior brand director at Meridian Enterprises, one of Seattle's most prestigious marketing firms. This week in Indonesia was her gift to herself before the real work began. She deserved this moment of peace after years of late nights, endless pitches, and proving herself in an industry that rarely forgave mistakes. The cafe sat perched on limestone cliffs overlooking the Indian Ocean. Below, waves crashed against ancient rocks, creating a rhythm that seemed to slow time itself. Olivia wore a simple white linen dress that caught the golden hour light perfectly. Her chestnut hair fell in natural waves, and for once, she wore minimal makeup. This version of herself felt honest and free. She ordered a passion fruit smoothie and opened her journal, a habit she had maintained since childhood. Writing helped her process the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside. Excitement mixed with nervousness, pride blended with the fear of not being enough. She was about to step into a role that would define her career, and the weight of that reality pressed gently against her chest. The stranger with ocean eyes, that's when she noticed him. He sat at the bar facing the sunset, completely absorbed in the view. Something about his posture spoke of exhaustion mixed with relief, as if he too had escaped from something demanding. He was probably in his early 30s, with sandy brown hair that looked sun-touched, wearing a casual linen shirt with sleeves rolled to his elbows. There was an elegance to him that seemed effortless rather than calculated. Their eyes met when a local musician began playing acoustic guitar near the entrance. His eyes were the color of the sea during a storm, gray-blue and impossibly deep. When he smiled at her, something shifted in Olivia's chest. It was not just attraction, though. That was certainly present. It felt like recognition, as if some part of her knew, some part of him. He approached her table with a confidence that felt natural. The sunset here makes you believe in magic again. I'm Ethan. Olivia found herself smiling genuinely. Olivia, and yes, it does. Are you here on vacation or running away from reality? Ethan laughed, a sound that was warm and unguarded. Both, perhaps. I needed distance from responsibilities and expectations. Sometimes you need to remember who you are when nobody is watching. She understood that sentiment completely. I'm celebrating something. A new beginning. Starting a dream job next week? Then we should toast to new beginnings. Ethan signaled the waiter and ordered champagne. Tell me about this dream of yours. Connection beyond words, they talked as the sky transformed from gold to amber to deep purple. Olivia learned that Ethan worked in business development, though he remained vague about specifics. He spoke about the pressure of carrying other people's expectations, about the loneliness that sometimes accompanied success, about missing the simplicity of just being human, rather than being someone's solution. She shared her journey from a small Oregon town to earning her master's degree, about her passion for creating campaigns that told authentic stories rather than just selling products. She admitted her fear of losing herself in corporate culture, of becoming someone who valued metrics over meaning. You won't lose yourself, Ethan said with surprising certainty. People who worry about that rarely do. It's the ones who never question their choices who drift away from their values. His insight touched something deep within her. This stranger seemed to see her more clearly than people who had known her for years. As darkness fell, they left the cafe and walked along the beach. The sand was cool and soft beneath their bare feet. Bali's famous stars began appearing, so bright they seemed close enough to touch. Ethan took her hand, and the gesture felt inevitable, as natural as breathing. One perfect night, I don't usually do this, Olivia admitted as they stood where the waves met the shore. Connect with someone I just met. Neither do I, Ethan replied softly. But tonight feels different. You feel different. When he kissed her, Olivia felt the world narrow to just that moment. His lips were gentle at first, questioning, but when she responded, the kiss deepened into something that spoke of both tenderness and urgency. They both understood this was temporary, which somehow made it more precious. They spent the night at his villa overlooking the ocean. It was everything such an encounter should be. Passionate yet tender. exciting yet comfortable. They made love with an intensity that surprised them both, and afterward, they lay tangled in white sheets, talking about everything and nothing. He traced patterns on her skin while she told him about her childhood dreams of becoming a writer. She learned about his complicated relationship with his father's legacy and his struggle to forge his own path. As dawn painted the sky in shades of rose and gold, they made a pact while lying in each other's arms. This would remain in Bali. No last names, no phone numbers, no expectations or promises that would complicate their real lives. They would carry this memory as proof that magic existed, but they would not try to force it into their everyday worlds. Beautiful goodbye. Thank you for reminding me that spontaneity can be beautiful, Olivia whispered as she prepared to leave. Ethan pulled her close one final time. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Whatever company hired you is incredibly fortunate. Don't ever let them make you forget your worth. They kissed goodbye with a bittersweetness that acknowledged both the beauty and the ending. Olivia walked away knowing this night would stay with her forever, a perfect memory untouched by the complications of reality. She felt more alive than she had in years, and she carried that feeling with her as she prepared to return home and begin her new life. What she could not possibly know was that fate had other plans entirely. Monday. Morning arrived with Seattle's typical gray drizzle. Olivia stood outside the Meridian Enterprises tower, sleek glass structure that stretched 30 stories into the cloudy sky. She wore her favorite charcoal suit, the one that made her feel powerful and professional. Her portfolio was organized, her confidence carefully constructed, and her mind focused. The memories of Bali were tucked away safely, a private treasure she would visit in quiet moments, but never let interfere with this. Opportunity. The lobby was all marble floors and modern art installations. Everything gleamed with success and ambition. A friendly security guard named Tom directed her to the 23rd floor, where the marketing division occupied an entire level of open workspaces and glass-walled offices. The view of Elliott Bay was spectacular, even through the rain. Rebecca Chen, the director of human resources, greeted Olivia warmly. She was a sharp woman in her 40s with kind eyes behind stylish glasses. Welcome to Meridian. We're thrilled to have you joining us. Your work on the Cascade campaign during your previous position really impressed our leadership team.
Thank you.
I'm excited to contribute to the innovative work Meridian is known for, Olivia replied, her voice steady despite the butterflies dancing in her stomach. Rebecca walked her through the department, introducing her to team members. There was Jordan Lee, the creative lead with purple streaks in her hair and an infectious laugh. Michael Torres, the senior strategist who welcomed her with genuine warmth. Christina Walsh, the data analyst who immediately started sharing insights about their current projects. Everyone seemed talented and passionate about their work. Olivia felt her excitement growing with each introduction. The conference room now. Let's head to the executive conference room, Rebecca said, checking her watch. The leadership team wants to meet you formally, and we'll go over the Pinnacle Hotels account. It's our flagship client, and you'll be working directly on their global rebrand. Olivia followed Rebecca down a corridor lined with awards and framed campaigns. Her heart beat steadily. She had prepared for this. She belonged here. The conference room was impressive, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. Several executives were already seated around the long table. Rebecca made introductions quickly. Thomas Brennan, the chief financial officer, who gave her a firm handshake. Patricia Moreno, the chief creative officer, who smiled warmly. David Kim, the VP of client relations, who welcomed her enthusiastically. Each person represented years of industry experience and success. Olivia shook hands and made mental notes, determined to remember every detail. And this is our CEO, Ethan Rivers, Rebecca said, gesturing to the head of the table. Time seemed to stop. The world tilted sideways. Olivia felt the blood drain from her face as Ethan stood and turned toward her. For one frozen moment, she saw her own shock mirrored perfectly in those storm-gray eyes. His composed expression faltered for just a heartbeat, and she watched recognition, surprise, and something deeper flashed across his features before he regained control. "It's hard," Ethan said, his voice professionally neutral as he extended his hand across the table. "Welcome to Meridian Enterprises." Professional masks. Olivia's body moved on autopilot. Her hand reached out to shake his, and the moment their skin touched, that same electric current from Bali shot through her entire system. Every nerve ending came alive with the memory of his touch, his kiss, his body against hers. But she forced her face to remain neutral, professional, appropriate. "Mr. Rivers," she managed, grateful her voice did not betray the chaos inside her. "Thank you. I'm honored to be here." His grip was firm and lasted exactly the appropriate amount of time. But his eyes held hers for just a fraction too long, communicating volumes in that brief connection. Surprise, recognition, concern, and beneath it all, that same attraction that had pulled them together in Bali. As everyone took their seats, Olivia fought to steady her breathing. The man from Bali, the stranger she had shared the most intimate and perfect night with, was not just her boss. He was the CEO of the entire company. This could not be happening. The universe could not be this cruel or this ironic. Patricia began presenting information about the Pinnacle Hotel's account. Olivia forced herself to focus, to absorb the details being shared. Pinnacle was a luxury hotel chain expanding internationally. They needed a complete rebrand that would appeal to both traditional luxury travelers and younger experience-focused guests. It was exactly the kind of challenge Olivia loved, complex and meaningful. "Impossible situation, Olivia. You'll be our lead strategist on this campaign," Patricia explained. "You'll work closely with our executive team, particularly with Ethan, who personally oversees our relationship with Pinnacle. Their CEO is a close friend of his." Olivia nodded, keeping her expression engaged and professional. "I'm looking forward to the challenge. The hospitality industry is evolving rapidly, and there's real opportunity to create something that resonates authentically." She could feel Ethan's gaze on her, but she kept her attention on Patricia. Inside, her mind raced through implications and complications. How was she supposed to work closely with someone who knew what she looked like in the dawn light, who had heard her most vulnerable confessions, who had touched every part of her body and soul? "Your portfolio showed real innovation," Thomas added, "particularly your work on emotional storytelling and brand development. That's exactly what Pinnacle needs." The meeting continued for another 40 minutes. Olivia asked intelligent questions, took detailed notes, and projected the competence and confidence she genuinely possessed. But she was acutely aware of Ethan's presence at every moment, the way he listened when she spoke, how his jaw tightened slightly when their eyes accidentally met, the tension in his shoulders that suggested he was as affected by this situation as she was. Alone together when the meeting finally ended, Rebecca asked Olivia to stay behind to sign some final paperwork. Olivia's heart pounded as the others filed out, leaving her with Rebecca and Ethan. Rebecca spread several documents across the table, explaining benefits and policies, while Olivia tried to focus on the words instead of the man standing near the windows. "One important policy to note," Rebecca said, pointing to a section in the employee handbook. "Meridian has a strict no fraternization policy. No romantic or personal relationships between employees at any level. We've found it's essential for maintaining professional boundaries and avoiding conflicts of interest." "I understand completely," Olivia said, her voice steady. "That makes perfect sense," Rebecca smiled. "Excellent. Well, I'll leave you two to discuss the Pinnacle strategy. Ethan prefers to give new team members his perspective directly." She gathered her materials and left, closing the door behind her. The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan remained by the windows, his back to her, his shoulders tense. Olivia could see his reflection in the glass, the conflict written clearly on his face. She stood slowly, gripping the back of her chair for support. "Olivia," he began quietly, still not turning to face her. "Mr. Rivers," she interrupted firmly, lifting her chin. "I'm here to work. What happened in Bali was beautiful, but it stays in Bali. I won't let it affect my professional performance. And I trust you won't either," he turned then. And the raw emotion in his expression nearly shattered her resolve. Pain, longing, regret, and something else she could not quite name. "You're right. Of course you're right. But you should know that I had no idea you were the candidate we hired. The final decision was made while I was away." "If you had known, what?" Olivia challenged gently. "Would you have rejected my application?" "That wouldn't be fair to either of us." "No," he admitted. "Your work stands on its own merit. But this situation is impossible." "Then we make it possible," Olivia said with more certainty than she felt. "We're both professionals. We can handle this with maturity and boundaries. What we shared was one night. This is our careers." Unspoken promises. Ethan moved closer, stopping a respectful distance away. "Can I ask you something? Did it mean something to you, or was it truly just a beautiful night?" Olivia's breath caught. She wanted to lie, to make this easier for both of them. But those gray eyes demanded honesty. "It meant something. More than I expected, but that doesn't change our reality. We have a policy to respect and careers to protect. My dreams are finally becoming real, Ethan. I can't risk everything I've worked for." "Neither can I," he said softly. "Meridian is my father's legacy. I spent 10 years proving I could lead it without his shadow hanging over me. A scandal would undermine everything." They stood in that conference room, the Seattle rain creating rivers on the windows behind them, both acutely aware of what they were giving up and what they were protecting. The air between them felt charged with everything unsaid. Every memory from Bali, every touch and whisper and vulnerable moment. "We can do this," Olivia said finally. "We're strong enough." Ethan nodded slowly. "Your office is ready? Jordan will walk you through the current Pinnacle materials. We have our first client presentation in 2 weeks. I expect excellence, Miss Hart." "You'll have it, Mr. Rivers." As she turned to leave, his voice stopped her. "Olivia." She looked back. "For what it's worth, I meant what I said in Bali. Whatever company hired you is incredibly fortunate." She allowed herself a small, sad smile. "Thank you." "And Ethan? What we shared will always be beautiful. Let's honor it by being exceptional at what we do." She walked out of that conference room with her head high, leaving behind a man who had shown her magic and now had to become simply her boss. Neither of them knew how difficult that promise would be to keep. 3 weeks passed in a blur of meetings, presentations, and late nights. Olivia threw herself into the Pinnacle Hotel's campaign with an intensity that impressed everyone on her team. She developed concepts that balanced luxury with authenticity, creating narratives that spoke to both tradition and innovation. Her work was brilliant, and she knew it. But brilliance came at a cost. Every day required her to interact with Ethan. Strategy sessions, client calls, budget reviews. Each encounter was professionally cordial and absolutely torturous. They maintained perfect boundaries. They never referenced Bali. They spoke only of metrics, timelines, and creative direction. But underneath every conversation ran an undercurrent of everything unspoken. Olivia noticed small things that nobody else would see. How Ethan's hand would tighten around his pen when she presented ideas. The way his gaze would linger on her for just a moment too long before he caught himself. How his voice would soften slightly when he said her name. That professional Ms. Hart carrying weight that only the two of them understood. She was not immune either. Her heart would race whenever he entered a room. She found herself noticing details she should not. The way his suit jacket fit across his shoulders. How he ran his hand through his hair when frustrated. The sound of his laugh during casual moments with other executives. At night, alone in her apartment, she would remember Bali with an aching clarity that made sleep difficult. Breaking point it was a Thursday evening, nearly 8 o'clock, when everything changed. Most of the office had emptied hours ago, but Olivia remained at her desk. Refining the presentation for Pinnacle's board meeting scheduled for the following Monday, this campaign would define her first months at Meridian. It had to be perfect. She was so focused on her screen that she did not hear Ethan approach until he spoke. "You're still here." Olivia jumped slightly, turning to find him standing in her doorway. He had removed his tie and rolled up his shirt sleeves. He looked tired, but still impossibly handsome. Her traitorous heart skipped. "The Pinnacle presentation needs another pass." I want to strengthen the emotional arc in the brand story. He gestured to the chair across from her desk. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Ethan sat down, and she walked him through her revisions, explaining her thinking behind each adjustment. As she spoke, she felt his attention completely focused on her. Not just her words, but her passion, her insight, the way her eyes lit up when discussing storytelling strategies. "This is exceptional work, Olivia," he said when she finished. There was pride in his voice, genuine and warm. "You've captured something that even Pinnacle's leadership team has struggled to articulate. This campaign will change how people experience luxury travel." The use of her first name, spoken softly in the quiet office, felt intimate, dangerous. "Thank you. I believe in this direction." "I can tell. Your belief makes others believe too. That's a rare gift." He paused, something shifting in his expression. "Can I confess something?" Olivia's pulse quickened. "I'm not sure that's wise." "Probably not," he agreed. "But these past 3 weeks have been the most professionally rewarding and personally difficult of my career. Watching you work, seeing your talent shine, knowing I can't tell you how extraordinary you are without crossing lines we've drawn, it's killing me." Walls crumbling, Olivia closed her laptop slowly, buying herself time to think. Every instinct screamed at her to maintain distance, to redirect this conversation back to safe territory. But she was tired of pretending. Tired of the weight of everything unsaid. "Do you want to know what's killing me?" she asked quietly. "Sitting in meetings where you're 10 feet away, but might as well be on another planet. Hearing you laugh with other people and remembering how that laugh sounded in the darkness in Bali, pretending that working with you is just work. When every single interaction reminds me of what we shared." Ethan leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his eyes holding hers with an intensity that made breathing difficult. "We agreed this was impossible." "Did," Olivia confirmed. "And it is impossible. Your reputation, my career, the company policies, all of it stands between us like a wall we built ourselves. So what do we do?" The vulnerability in his voice matched what she felt. "I don't know," she admitted. "I only know that pretending you're just my boss is becoming harder every day. And I hate that I'm even saying this because it makes me sound weak or unprofessional or like I can't handle my own emotions." Ethan stood and moved to her window, looking out at the Seattle skyline glittering in the darkness. "You're the strongest person I know. What you're feeling doesn't make you weak. It makes you human." He turned back to face her. "I've been thinking about Bali every single day. About you. About us. About whether that night was the beginning of something real or just a beautiful moment that we're foolishly trying to hold on to." "Honest confessions." Olivia stood as well, needing to move, to channel the energy coursing through her. What if it was both? What if it was real and we're not foolish for recognizing that, but we're also not naive enough to ignore the consequences? "Then we're trapped between what we want and what we can afford to risk," Ethan said. "My father built this company over 30 years. I've spent a decade proving I could lead it forward. A relationship with an employee, especially someone I directly supervise, would raise questions about favoritism, about my judgment, about whether your success is earned or given." "I would never accept anything I hadn't earned," Olivia said fiercely. "I know that. You know that. But perception matters in business, and your career is just beginning. You have so much potential, Olivia. I won't be the reason people question your achievements or whisper that you slept your way to success." The crudeness of that phrase made her flinch, but she understood his point. "So we do nothing. We just suffer through this tension forever." "I don't have an answer," Ethan admitted, running his hand through his hair in that gesture she had come to recognize as frustration. "All I know is that meeting you in Bali felt like fate. And discovering you here felt like some cosmic test of my integrity." Olivia moved closer to him, drawn by invisible threads she could not cut. "What if we're overthinking this? What if we just acknowledge that we care about each other and find a way to navigate that honestly?" "How?" Ethan challenged gently. "Secret meetings? Hidden relationships? Lies to our colleagues? That's not who either of us is." Crisis and clarity before Olivia could respond. Her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and saw Patricia's name. I should take this. Olivia, we have a situation. Pinnacle's CEO just called Ethan. Their board meeting moved up to Saturday morning in San Francisco. They want to see the campaign presentation 48 hours early. Can you be ready? Olivia's mind immediately shifted into crisis mode. Absolutely. I'll finalize everything tonight. You'll need to fly down tomorrow with Ethan. I'm booking your flights now. This is high pressure, but it's also an opportunity to show Pinnacle how responsive we are. After hanging up, Olivia turned to Ethan. You heard? He nodded. My phone will ring any second with the same information. Are you comfortable traveling together for this presentation? We're professionals, Olivia said, lifting her chin. We can handle a business trip. His phone rang on cue. He answered, confirmed details with Patricia, and ended the call. When he looked back at Olivia, something had shifted in his expression. Determination mixed with resignation. We should both go home and pack. Meet at the airport tomorrow at noon. I'll be there. She began gathering her things, needing distance to process everything that had just been said between them. As she reached her office door, Ethan spoke again. Olivia. She turned. For what it's worth, I don't regret Bali, not even with all these complications. Meeting you was the best thing that's happened to me in years, even if timing and circumstances are working against us. Her throat tightened with emotion. I don't regret it either. Maybe someday we'll understand why the universe brought us together this way. Journey Together Friday's flight to San Francisco was smooth but felt endless. Olivia and Ethan sat in business class, maintaining professional distance while acutely aware of each other. They reviewed presentation materials, discussed strategy, and refined talking points. To any observer, they were simply colleagues preparing for an important meeting. But when turbulence hit and Olivia's hand gripped the armrest instinctively, Ethan's hand covered hers for just a moment. A gesture of comfort that lasted 3 seconds but communicated everything words could not. She looked at him, and in his eyes she saw the same struggle she felt. The desire to comfort and protect warring with the need to maintain boundaries. Their hotel was elegant. All modern design and bay views. Separate rooms on different floors, as appropriate. They agreed to meet in the business center at 6 to run through the presentation one final time. Olivia used the afternoon to clear her head, walking through the city streets, reminding herself why she had worked so hard to reach this point in her career, vulnerable. Truth, that evening's practice session went smoothly until Olivia's laptop froze during a key transition. She tried troubleshooting, but nothing worked. Frustration and exhaustion overwhelmed her suddenly, and to her horror, tears started forming. She had been holding so much inside for weeks. The pressure of performing perfectly, of managing her feelings for Ethan, of proving she belonged at Meridian. Hey, Ethan said softly, moving around the table to her side. It's okay. We'll fix this. It's not just the laptop, Olivia said, wiping her eyes angrily. It's everything. I'm supposed to be this strong, capable professional who can handle anything, but I feel like I'm barely holding it together. Working with you every day, pretending I don't feel what I feel. Wondering if I made a terrible mistake by not walking away from this job when I had the chance. Ethan crouched beside her chair so they were eye level. You didn't make a mistake. You earned this position. Your work is exceptional, and tomorrow, you're going to walk into that boardroom and prove exactly why Meridian hired you. Not because of what happened in Bali, but because you're brilliant at what you do. And after tomorrow, she asked quietly, what happens to us? He reached up and gently wiped a tear from her cheek, the touch achingly tender. I don't know, but I do know that I care about you more than is professionally wise, and I think you care about me too. Maybe that's enough for now. Maybe we don't need to have all the answers tonight. Promise of tomorrow. Olivia leaned into his touch for just a moment, allowing herself that small comfort. I'm scared, Ethan. Scared of losing this opportunity. Scared of losing what we could be. Scared of making the wrong choice. So am I, he admitted. But fear means we're facing something that matters. And you, Olivia Hart, are worth being afraid for. He helped her fix the laptop, staying beside her until everything worked perfectly. They ran through the presentation twice more, And each time, Olivia felt her confidence returning. When they finally finished, it was nearly midnight. As they walked to the elevators, Ethan spoke quietly. After tomorrow's presentation, after we've shown Pinnacle what we can do, I think we need to have an honest conversation about what we want. Not what's easy or what's allowed, but what we genuinely want. And if what we want is impossible, Olivia asked, then we'll figure out how to make the impossible possible. Or we'll accept that some things aren't meant to be, no matter how much we wish otherwise. But at least we'll know we were honest with ourselves and each other. The elevator arrived, and they stepped inside. As the doors closed, creating a temporary private space, Ethan took her hand and squeezed it gently. You're going to be amazing tomorrow. And whatever happens after, whether we find a way forward or decide we can't, I want you to know that meeting you changed my life. Olivia squeezed back, holding on to this moment. It changed mine too. They rode in silence to her floor. As she stepped out, she turned back. Thank you for seeing me. Not just as an employee, but as a person. Always, he promised. Saturday morning arrived with California sunshine and possibility. Olivia, dressed in her power suit, gathered her materials, and met Ethan in the lobby. They looked at each other and nodded, ready to face Pinnacle's board together. Whatever came after, they would handle it. Together or apart, they would both be okay. But as they walked into that boardroom, Olivia carried a hope she had not allowed herself before. Maybe love and career did not have to be mutually exclusive. Maybe two people brave enough to be honest could find a way to honor both their professional integrity and their hearts. The presentation was about to begin. But the real story was just starting.